What is up, everybody? It is me, Brandon, with a different kind of video today, and this is going to be my rankings of the current video game consoles, or the consoles I've played. And this is on tiermaker.com, so I thought this would be a pretty cool thing to do. I can talk a little bit and gush about some of my favorite video game experiences. Try to keep it relatively within the 10 minutes that I like to do. But I totally thought, this would be a pretty cool thing to publish. So let's go ahead and get started. I have this one area, this is in the neon green, not spent enough time with / never played. So there's consoles like the Ouya, which just bombed, but there's like a Game Gear here, an Atari, which I've played, but I haven't put enough time in. I believe this is Neo Geo, Virtual Boy, Saturn, stuff like that. I haven't played or haven't had enough time with, so I just put that in its own category. But most of these consoles down here I have played. So we're going to go ahead and start with the C column. And this is very difficult because I do have a lot of time pretty much with all these consoles here. So let's see. Oh man, for C. Gosh. All right. So we're going to start out with, or do we even need a C? Let's see. No pun intended. I'm going to put, because of the idea of the Wii U. This is a really cool console. I liked this console. Unfortunately, Nintendo followed up the Wii in a horrendous way with the Wii U, and I'm going to put it in the C column. Let me just say, I would love to make a video on the Wii U because I thoroughly enjoyed this console. It has the best Nintendo eShop on any system, and it has so much of a back catalog with the Virtual Console and some of the games that came out later in its life, like Splatoon, Mario Maker, Mario Kart 8, Super Smash Bros. 4. Awesome games. There was also a Pokken tournament, but the Wii U did not really have a chance to shine at all, which really sucks. And Toad's Treasure Tracker, oh my god, so good. And Xenoblade Chronicles X, it started getting somewhere towards the end, but thankfully we have the amazing Nintendo Switch. So what we got of the Wii U, it was missed. I still have mine. We got some pretty cool ports, but yeah, Nintendo really flopped on that system, and the third-party support was atrocious. So let's go up into, is there any other C tier consoles, would I say? Maybe we'll come back to this. So I'm going to put, for B tier, the Nintendo DS. I think the Nintendo DS is awesome. When I first saw that thing and I saw somebody playing Mario 64 DS, that was so cool. This is something I never thought I'd see, like realized graphics of like an N64 on your handheld, and that blew my mind. And then the two screens, there was microphones, games like WarioWare touched, the Pokemon games, Pokemon Diamond, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Pearl, Pokemon Ranger, Mystery Dungeon, Blue Rescue Team. There was so much great quality games on the Nintendo DS, and I'm missing a bunch of them. You also had the Metroid Prime Hunters games. You had Sonic Rush, which I really liked. Unfortunately, I was fairly younger, so I was always playing licensed games on the Nintendo DS, so I did miss out on probably some of the more hardcore games, which really does suck, and I need to go back and play some. But the Nintendo DS, just for Pokemon alone, that entire system just for Pokemon was phenomenal. You also, Diddy Kong Racing had a port which was very good there too, which I played quite a bit of. But I think the Nintendo DS is a fantastic console. I'm actually playing a Pokemon White right now, so which I never got to play. But that's a very, very, very good game so far. So let's see. Any other B systems? I will put the PSP in the B area. I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, dude, the PSP is amazing. And it's just a system I wasn't able to spend that much time with. And I've spent enough time with it to say it doesn't need to go in the area. But I remember growing up getting a PSP and playing like Ape Escape on the Loose, playing Spider-Man 2. There was a movie tie-in there. Buying some UMDs of movies. I have a copy of Spider-Man 2 somewhere still. And I thought the PSP was really cool. It's just I never utilized it enough. And later on in its life, once it was pretty much extinct, that's when I started finding interests in it. Like I have Silent Hill Homecoming or not Homecoming, Silent Hill Origins, which I'd love to play. I didn't play Birth by Sleep until later. And Crisis Core I still need to play, but I did really love Final Fantasy Dissidia, which was awesome. That's like a mainstay on that system. But there's a lot of other games I'd really like to revisit. I do have Persona 2 Eternal Punishment, and there was also Persona 3 Portable. Those games are also on the Vita, but those are really good games as well. It's a system I'd love to go back and revisit. The God of War games were actually really good. I didn't play them on the PSP, but I played them on the PS3. And the PSP is really a solid system. It's just I didn't spend enough time with it, and I'd love to change that in the future and go back and play some of these games. There was a full-blown, like Tekken 6, I'd argue, is better on the PSP than it is on the consoles, because I believe there was some crazy load times on the on the console versions, but on the PSP it was awesome. It looked like a PS2 game. It was badass. Up next, we'll follow in the successor of the PSP, and I'm gonna give this a B. So the PlayStation Vita, really, really solid handheld. Like that thing is awesome. Touchscreen on the front, touchscreen or touch back. You had 2 thumbsticks, which was a big deal. And if you had the original PS Vita, you had an OLED screen, which everything just popped. I remember first playing that and I think I got the Call of Duty Declassified Black Ops game, and it was not good, but it was cool to see the colors. But the PS Vita alone holds such a special place in my heart because it's what got me into the Persona series. Persona 4 Golden is one of my favorite games of all time. And without that console, I probably would not have ever played Persona, probably until like 5. And who knows if I would have been really interested in that if I didn't play the other ones first. But Persona 4 Golden is what was worth owning a PlayStation Vita for the longest time. I also got Persona 4 Dancing All Night. And then, like I said, you can go back and play like Persona 3 Portable with the PSN store. So yes, the Vita did fail here, and there's some other good games out there too, like Sin and Punishment, if people like that. There was some other crazy game, which I don't even remember. Freedom Wars, I think it was called. But I do go back to the Vita every now and then and think about some of the times of playing this thing. But yeah, it's not horrible. And it doesn't have enough. And I know it's still being supported with indie games. So let's see. Any B tier systems. I also see there's a PC option here. I don't know about this one. I'm going to say, like, PC is great, right? But I don't know. We may not add that. I will say, I'm going to... Let's see. Do I? Don't I? Okay. The Wii. the Wii is not a console I really fell in love with until this past year. I remember first getting it in 2007. It blew my mind. It was still like the coolest thing ever. Come on, like motion controls, Wii Sports, and I had like Pokemon Battle Revolution, and that was so sick to experience. But for the most part, I was younger. I played mostly licensed games. There was Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which was really good. Probably the main reason I played my Wii a lot. But there was also Mario Kart and a couple others. But I never really got around to playing some of these other games that I have now. Last summer, I ended up buying a lot of the Dream Collection I wanted. So I've played games like, I finally ended up being able to play games like Umbrella Chronicles, the Resident Evil game, the Dark Side Chronicles, finally owning a copy of House of the Dead, 1 and 2, or 2 and 3 Return. And finally got to play Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which was really haunting, but I liked it a lot. So I think the Wii is very good, and I think the Wii deserves all the praise. I still haven't played through the whole Mario Galaxy, but that's another game I really want to play. And there was a Fire Emblem, which I'd love to play now, but Fire Emblem and trying to get those games after all these years is very difficult. So the Wii will stay in position B for me. I like it. Wish I could have experienced it more in its prime. Up next, let's see. Any other systems here? Any other systems? I will put the Xbox One. So this console bombed, like when it first came out. It was suffering. This was the TV VCR machine. You would see this thing, and Xbox is not the behemoth that it once was with the Xbox 360. Now they are focusing on television and yada yada yada. It is now 2021, and I have to say my time with the Xbox One has been nothing but incredible. And the fact that you can now play backwards compatible games, talk to people through your PC, Game Pass, all this other stuff, so cool. Sunset Overdrive is like amazing, man. We really need a sequel to that, even though it's probably going to be only on PlayStation now. But Sunset Overdrive, Titanfall, oh my gosh, you had a bunch of these games. Rare Replay, Gears 4 and 5, like very good games. And the Master Chief Collection, fantastic. It's probably one of the best deals you can get. There's a lot of problems out the gate with this system, but the Xbox One really pulled through and is the console that I really, really like. But again, just for everything, it's going to be a B. It's going to be a B, yes. So let's see. What else do we have here? I will say... Are we gonna be jumping into the next category already? I'm deciding now too. This is gonna be a long video. Let's see. We may be missing some things, but I think we'll move on from here. So, okay, here we go. So we're going into A. I think, in terms of A, do we talk about them or do we place them all in? I'm gonna say, okay, Game Boy Advance. Awesome handheld, incredible. The amount of time I've pumped in playing Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, Fire Red, Leaf Green, awesome time. And just a bunch of, it was pretty much a portable SNES. It had everything. Donkey Kong Country 1 through 3. You had Advanced Wars. You had backwards compatibility with the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy games. And the form factor was awesome. Then later was the Game Boy SP, which was fantastic. There was a wireless receiver that you bought if you bought Pokemon Fire Red or Leaf Green that you could wirelessly trade. It was so cool. Trying trying to think. There was WarioWare Twisted. Am I missing something? The Sonic Advanced games. There was the Mega Man Battle Network, which I haven't played, but people say is incredible. There was Final Fantasy ports. There was NES ports. There was SNES ports. It's the whole deal, and I love this system. I come back to it quite often to revisit WarioWare, Pokemon, Mystery Dungeon, you name it. We're playing Super Mario World or Donkey Kong Country. I love the Game Boy Advance and all of its features that were added from the Advance with the awesome handheld, perfect design of something. They're up there. I'm not going to go grab them, but the perfect design, and then you get the SP, which is chargeable battery. Again, all backwards compatible. Phenomenal. With that, I am going to put... And also, I want to mention, with the DS, awesome that you were able to play Game Boy Advance games. I'd actually probably bump it up to the A, but the fact that I haven't played that many DS games is where the DS will stay solely for that. I mean, if I really got into more DS games, this would probably be bumped up next to the Game Boy Advance. I want to say that I will put, NES, and we're not going to be jumping the shark yet. NES is there. I'm going to put the Game Boy there, and I'm going to put the 3DS there. And let's talk about these a little bit. So the NES, it's like the big first console experience game. Console experience. You got Mario 1, 2, and 3. You had a bunch of just licensed games, but this is where some of the classic Nintendo IP were created with Legend of Zelda, Metroid, Kid Icarus, Ice Climbers. There was Contra. There was Castlevania. This was the system that everybody was talking about back in the day. I wasn't even really around for this thing, but it's still one of those consoles that has such a legendary power. And you talk about it, and they still have games to this day you can go back and play, and they feel timeless. Maybe look a little bit dated. Most of them are timeless. You play Super Mario Brothers 3, it's awesome, and it still holds up. So after that, you have the Game Boy. Oh my god. The Game Boy is amazing. Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Red, Pokemon Yellow, Heart Gold, Gold, Silver, Crystal, Pokemon Pinball. And you had other ports as well. They tried making Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy, but there was a bunch of other games. There was Zelda Oracles of Seasons, I believe, and which were 2 different versions. But there was a slew of different Game Boy games, and I have a bunch. But there was a Resident Evil game, Ninja Gaiden, Resident Evil Gaiden, and this thing is awesome. But again, for me, Pokemon machine. I had a Game Boy Color, and I would play the absolute shit out of it. And then that bled into the Game Boy Advance and stuff over there. Awesome system. Love the form factor. You had the Game Boy, then you had the Game Boy Pocket. There was a Game Boy Light, I believe, in Japan. Then I think I said the Game Boy Color. You had all of it, and then it evolved into the amazing Game Boy Advance. And I'm going to put the 3DS here. And I think the 3DS deserves a lot of praise. I actually have to make an edit with another one of these. The 3DS is what pretty much held Nintendo from sinking. When the Wii U was out, Nintendo really focused on this console. And that really helped them pave a path and try and create the Switch and really help them out. This thing was incredible. It's the system that made me... I bought the system for Resident Evil Revelations, and there was so many games on it. At first, it was a little rough, but there were so many games on it afterwards. And to this day, the library that is on a 3DS, you can play Pokemon Gold, Silver, Yellow, Blue, Crystal, all on it due to the eShop. You can play Kid Icarus Uprising, which is phenomenal, but the controls really do kind of suck. You have Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. the Zelda remakes, new Zelda games. Pokemon finally became 3D with Pokemon X and Y. There was a WarioWare Gold version, which was awesome. The 3DS, without it, I would not be able to play one of my favorite IP from Nintendo now, which is Fire Emblem. Thanks to Fire Emblem Awakening, that game just shifted everything for me, and it's became such an important IP, not only to me, but to Nintendo. And what else was there? They had the Yokai Watch series, which I really liked. I liked those games. There was so much, man. There was like Monster Hunter was striving on that system, and they even made an additional version where they had the new Nintendo DS, and there was a 2DS as well, and they added like a nub to it to where you can control and play more powerful systems. But so much was supported and brought to the Nintendo 3DS, and it's such an awesome console. I remember playing Resident Evil Revelations for the first time, being blown away by the 3D feature and just experiencing like a really solid Resident Evil game on a Nintendo handheld. So after that, we got some titles here. This is gonna offend a lot of people, I think, but I need to put the N64 in B. I think the N64 is an awesome console with friends and family. Remove all the Nintendo first-party games, and I think that's a big problem. I think, and the rare games, and I think the Nintendo 64 really struggles because the 64 is remembered very fondly for the Nintendo games and the rare games, but outside of that, like 20, 30 games maybe, it's rough. I do love my Nintendo 64. It's very nostalgic every time I play it. I love the cartridges. I love all of it. But I have to say it is not the best console, or it's not the greatest, as many people say, at least in my opinion. But I love the funky colors. The controller was awful, but it's something about it is just super nostalgic. Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium, Donkey Kong 64. There was so many games. The Legend of Zelda games, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask. Literally some of the greatest games of all time were on this console. But outside of the Nintendo and the rare games, I really do think this console doesn't hold up as well. So up next, are we going into the S tier? I don't think so. Not yet. Because we do have to milk a little bit of these. So, I'm going to put the Sega Genesis in the A tier. I'm going to put the PlayStation 1 in the A tier. And yeah, I think we'll run with that for right now. So the Sega Genesis is a system that I didn't own when I grew up. I had an emulator, and I played all these Genesis games like every day. I had them on my computer at my dad's house, and I would play TMNT Hyperstone Heist or Gemstone Heist, the Sonic games. I would play the weird third-party games, like there was Jurassic Park, there was Batman, The Lion King, The Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man Maximum Carnage, there's the Spider-Man game. There was so many games I played on the Genesis, and it's something that there's so much nostalgia there for me, and I'd never even owned the console. Later on, about a couple years ago, I eventually started to get a Genesis collection, but I honestly, to me, it's playing the games. I don't need the hardware or the software for it. So I do use emulation for those kind of games, and it's so nostalgic for me, just that system, and playing Sonic on like the GameCube collection discs and stuff like that it's something very. It reminds me very much of childhood, and I love that system. The PlayStation, probably one of the first. It probably is the first console I've ever really remembered playing so much, and probably honestly is the first console right next to the Game Boy Color that I've ever played. I remember playing so much of the PS1, playing games growing up that I probably shouldn't have. Games like I remember Dino Crisis, Dino Crisis 2. Dino Crisis 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. But this system also has Resident Evil, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. And there are so many other games. Bloody Roar was a big one for me. Bloody Roar 2. There was Jurassic Park Warpath, which not a lot of people probably remember, but I loved that game. It was a Jurassic Park fighting game. Tekken 2, Tekken 3. Literally just excellent fighting games on the system. There was Siphon Filter. There's so much. And even the licensed games, like I remember having so much fun. Like Crash, you had Spyro, you had Croc, like that third party character. Ape Escape. The list can go on and on and on with this system. The original Spider-Man by Neversoft, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Oh my goodness. Maybe that deserves a little bit higher spot, but I'm going to keep it in A for right now. The PS1, nostalgic as hell. Love this system. Awesome console. And I still play it pretty regularly, or at least I play the games regularly. What next do we have? Are we going into the S tier? SNES. Xbox 360. Oh, I didn't even know there was a PS4 here. Yikes. I'll put the PS4 in A tier. So the PlayStation 4 was solid. I remember getting it at launch, midnight, and it was right after I got my jaw surgery, so my mouth was still wired shut. But man, this console, the amount of games and hours I've pumped into my PS4, the exclusives, the third-party support. I feel like Sony just took everything they learned from the PS3 and they improved on the PS4 so much. And it was everything, man. It was like, I remember playing it very early and hearing rumors about Destiny and like what Bungie's going to be making. I remember playing all of the first Destiny on the PS4, falling in love with it, getting really into it, playing it with friends. Then you had the sequels of the PS3 games. You had Uncharted 4 come out. Finally got to experience that game and the conclusion to Nathan Drake's story. It was amazing. Then you had God of War, which came out, which was incredible. A truly faithful sequel / reboot to an incredible franchise that we thought was very stagnant. You had the incredible Spider-Man game, which just hit home to me so much and is such a special game and still remains like so perfect. Even after playing the PS5 remastered with its tweaks, that game is solid throughout. We also got to see games like Ghost of Tsushima. Incredible game, man. Incredible. I keep thinking it's a PS5 game because I played it on PS5. Incredible. You had the Ratchet and Clank remaster or reboot or whatever you want to call it. So much came to this PS4, and the PS4 just blew everything out of the water. Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I haven't even played yet, and I'm missing so many games. Infamous Second Son, oh my gosh, The Last Guardian, Dreams, the Shadow of the Colossus remake. Incredible, man. So many hours spent on the PS4. Such a good console. Jeez. Let's see. I'm going to put the... So, greatest of all time, would that be like one console? I don't know. To follow up with the PS4, I'm going to put the PS3 in S tier. So, the PS3 was comparable to the Xbox 360. both the Xbox 360 and the PS3 were very, very neck and neck. The PS3 pretty much failed out the gate with a $600 price tag, and the PS3 didn't really start chugging until the end. And I remember, we'll go into this when I get to the Xbox 360 story, but I remember spending so much time playing my PS3. This was the perfect sequel to the 360 for me. I was a big Xbox gamer, and once I got the Red Ring of Death, I just decided, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go with PlayStation. I love the PlayStation 2, all that stuff. Some of those games look sweet, like Uncharted. And to this day, it's been such a very special system for me. I've had every single version of it, aside from this fat model here. I own the Slim, I own the grill one, where you slide it, and I don't own that one. I would love to get the backwards compatible version one day, but free online. I remember listening to so many PlayStation podcasts. I got really into the exclusives. Killzone 2, Killzone 3, Uncharted trilogy, man. Incredible. Uncharted 2 was one of my favorite games of all time. The infamous 1 and 2 games, incredible. You had Last of Us, just insane quality game, and you can't believe that's even running on a PS3. Not to mention third-party support of also games like BioShock and like Battlefield and all these really great games. I've played Mass Effect first on PlayStation, so playing Mass Effect 2 is like where I fell in love with that legendary game series. And there was Heavy Rain, which really blew my mind at the time, and they had collections that came out which were crazy too. But the PS3, looking back on it, you could play PS1 games. I have so many PS1 games on there. There was PS2, like PSN games. I got to finally play Persona 3 on that thing. I had Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on my PS3 that I played, and I used to play all the time with people. I still remember the day I bought my PS3, and it was like right after my 8th grade graduation. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to buy a PlayStation 3. And me and my one friend, we went to Blockbuster, bought a couple games. I went to Target, bought a couple games. And I fell in love with it. Such a special system to me, and I will always gush on that system. Now, with the Xbox 360, it perfected online. This was the game where if you didn't have an Xbox 360, and you couldn't really experience the Xbox Live thing, it was incredible. I remember spending so much time with various kids throughout my grade in middle school playing this incredible console, playing Call of Duty. I remember playing Call of Duty 4 for the first time online, and it blowing my mind. And playing Halo 3 online, and playing with my cousins and family for hours upon hours, like maybe even thousands of Halo 3, and then you had Halo ODST, Halo Reach, Halo 4, and then you had the Gears of War games, which finally came out on that system. And again, there are so many games that came out for the Xbox 360 that I'm not even covering. But again, third-party support between both of these consoles, literally phenomenal. And the online for the Xbox 360 was incredible. And there was some backwards compatibility support with the original Xbox as well. But you had the chat headset, you had the keyboard, thumb pad. I remember playing Grand Theft Auto 4 and Saints Row 2 and having so much fun with just kids randomly in my grade. Whether we were friends or not, we would just join a party, and you'd have those 8 party nights where like there's 8 people in this chat and you can't even understand what's going on. Somebody's getting yelled at by their mom. That's such a nostalgic system for me as well. And I'm going to put the SNES up here because this thing is, in all terms, it really should be a GOAT console. I never got the chance to really own one, but I've played a lot of these games elsewhere. whether that be in collections, whether that's playing them on the Nintendo Switch or the eShop somewhere over the years. This console has so many good games, and it pretty much perfected the NES, and it created everything that is just like, some of these games are so good. Super Metroid, you have A Link to the Past, you have Super Mario World, which is one of my favorite Mario games ever. Donkey Kong Country, which is incredible. You have, I think Chrono Trigger came out for it. You had a bunch of the Final Fantasies on there as well. I love this system, and it's something that is very, it's not nostalgic, but I always really appreciate the game quality of these games. The pixel art looks amazing. I think Mega Man X came out for these too, and so good. Such a good system. Just these three right here, they all have their moments in history that makes them stand out in their own way. And like I would say for the PS3, it's the incredible exclusives and detail. The Xbox is defining the online experience, and then the SNES is just absolute quality all the way around with the incredible game design by Nintendo. So that leads the GOAT category, and maybe some of these others that will trickle down. So S tier. Do I have anything else I would like to put there? This is really hard. I will put... Just because the Switch isn't done yet, it's still firing on all cylinders, I'm putting it in the S tier. The Switch is the console I've always wanted. Now, growing up, unfortunately, my parents were divorced, so I've always had to lug around a Xbox 360 or a PS3 or a Game Boy or a DS. This is the total package. This is everything I've always wanted. A simple console that I plug into the TV, it works, pull it out, can play it right here in my hands. Incredible console. The games right now are awesome. Like, I'm playing Luigi's Mansion 3. I'd love to make a review or talk about this game later on. It's so good. It's very, very like fun. You can play Fortnite on it. It's free, but there's a bunch of other stuff as well. And there was a Fire Emblem game. There's Pokemon games coming out for it. There's Metroid games coming out supposedly for this thing. The Zelda games and Mario games have been amazing so far. The Nintendo Switch is the total package, and I'd put it in the GOAT category, but the system is not finished. It's still firing on all cylinders. That is why it's in the S tier. With PC gaming, obviously PC Master Race, right? I don't want to categorize it because I want to do consoles. But ever since getting into PC gaming, you kind of become an enthusiast about PCs, and you really want to have like a really good build and play like the best games at the best quality. I love it. But this is pretty much where I'm just going to start gushing. Now, a lot of people would know this who know me personally, but I really love the 6th gen of consoles. So that is the PS2, the Dreamcast, the GameCube, the Xbox original. And we're going to just gush about these a little bit. So we'll start out with the Dreamcast, and I'm going to put the Dreamcast. This is really difficult. I'm going to put the Dreamcast in S tier. I think the Dreamcast, unfortunately, it suffered a very short life, but it had the best games. It had arcade perfect ports of Marvel vs. Capcom, all the arcade fighters. You had the crazy niche games. You had a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fighting game made by Capcom that was put on this thing. You had all the Street Fighter games perfected. You had some of the other games like the Neversoft Spider-Man perfected on the Dreamcast. You had Resident Evils at a little bit of a higher frame rate and fidelity, I believe, on the Dreamcast. You also had Dino Crisis, which looks better on the Dreamcast. A lot of these games were really supported super well with the Dreamcast, and I loved the VMUs. I think the controller is a little weird, but I think the VMUs and the total design and fun of the Dreamcast always made me want one. And a couple years finally being able to get it and creating a small collection of my own, it still remains one of my favorite consoles. The fact that you get these perfect arcade games, which I love so much, but like Spawn Armageddon or Crazy Taxi and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater again came back for it. Marvel vs. Capcom, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. I could keep going, but I love the Dreamcast. But I really want to narrow down the GOAT section. But seriously, the Dreamcast is really special to me. And the S, think about it as like an accent to the GOAT. So while they're not goated, in my opinion, they're still really amazing consoles, and they hold a very special place. Not that these all don't either, but these hold a very special place in my heart and as a gamer. So up next, we're going to be talking about the original Xbox, and that's going to be the first one going into the GOAT category. So the original Xbox, I originally wanted a GameCube, and I was deciding to just go with the Xbox because my dad was helping me out, trying to determine who isn't a gamer at all. I think he appreciates them from afar, but he also doesn't care necessarily. And I remember him discussing with people about the GameCube and how the Xbox was a little bit more mature, so like kids can grow into it and stuff like that, where the Nintendo games are always very kid friendly, blah blah blah. The original Xbox is amazing. I built up a pretty nice collection over the last maybe 5 or 10 years, or like maybe 5 years or so. And I loved my collection. I parted with some of it because I had to, but I really found this console like it felt like a PC in a console of that generation. It felt very alien, which I love because that's what the system feels like, with the green like nebulous that starts in the beginning. Playing Halo for the first time, I'll never forget that. I remember playing a bunch of games from renting them from Blockbuster, and just it was such a special experience being able to play some of these games. Playing on the original Xbox, I didn't get to experience the online part of it because we just didn't have internet back then for these consoles. So I can't even argue with that. But just playing on it, I always felt it was a very mature system, and I loved the games that came out for it. There was games like Psychonauts. I had Digimon Rumble Arena 2, which was awesome. I played Indigo Prophecy on that, which was really good as well. But the Halo games, there was so much. I have Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. Gushed on that game. But everything looked and felt so cool. The game Black was awesome. I played a bunch of Star Wars games on it, man. It's such a fantastic console, and I feel like all of these consoles and the Dreamcast, they all accent each other. And what you can't find on one, you'll find somewhere else, and they're all a great companion piece to each other. But the original Xbox, I'll never forget buying it and getting the Tetris and Star Wars Clone Wars bundle, and I really wanted the Xbox also for Spawn in Soul Calibur 2, which was the first game I've ever purchased for the original Xbox back in the day. And I'll never forget that. To this day, I still have an affinity to the Soul Calibur on Xbox solely because Spawn is awesome. So up next we will be talking about one of the very few loves of my life, and that is the Nintendo GameCube. Very similar to the N64, I found that the Nintendo GameCube was just something that it has that perfect collection. Man, it's like my collection for my GameCube is probably my most important part of anything I collect. Like, I am so proud of my N64. Nintendo GameCube collection. It has all the games I want. There's a couple games I'm still missing, but for the most part, I have everything I want. I like adding more, sure, but I have everything I need. And this console screams nothing but quality, and the fact that it technically failed, it blows my mind. But the controller is flawless. I think it is arguably probably the best, and I'm going to gush hardcore about how this is the console that got me introduced to arguably my favorite game of all time and favorite video game series, or one of them, which is Resident Evil. And this thing is a powerhouse. You can play Resident Evil 0, 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica, and 4, all on this thing. And it's incredible. And not to mention the Star Wars games, the Pokemon games, the Star Fox games, the Mario games, F-Zero games, the Mario sports games that came out this generation are absolutely insane, and the quality is through the roof on the Nintendo GameCube, and it comes in all the cool fun colors. You can get platinum, black, indigo. There's a spice orange, which I would love to get. No, that's in Japan, but the Nintendo GameCube, you can't beat this thing. And Super Smash Brothers, how could I forget? And Mario Kart Double Dash, and as I keep looking over, Animal Crossing, excellent game. Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, I was obsessed with when I was young, trying to date Cecilia at the farm. Such a good game, such a good console. I would love to talk about these two consoles more. And then last but not least, the big boy, the PlayStation 2. The PlayStation 2 was like the first time I really felt that surge of next gen when I was younger. I remember seeing commercials for Sly Cooper, and that was always blowing my mind. I was like, well, why can't, Tobey Maguire's in the Spider-Man movie, but why does the Spider-Man game not come out for PS1? And I remember being so upset about that, seeing it at Blockbuster with the Spider-Man eye like covering the shelf. And I was like, I have a PS1, why can't I play this game? And needless to say, this console is flawless. It has so many incredible games. You have the Silent Hill 1 and 2, or not Silent Hill 1 and 2, 2 and 3, which are arguably some of the best horror games of all time. You have Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3. You have Ape Escape 2, Ape Escape 3. I loved those two games so much. You had Tekken 4, Tekken 5, and Tekken Tag, which came over to it as well. Put so many hours into that. There was an iToy, which was like Connect pre 360, and so many games, man. The quality was insane on here, and a lot of the stuff that carried over from the Dreamcast ended up trickling in to the PS2, the GameCube, and especially the Xbox. So the Dreamcast trickled in with the Xbox, and you got games like Jet Set Radio Future and a bunch of Sega games that would have come out for the Sega Genesis or Dreamcast coming to the Xbox. So pretty much the original Xbox is the Dreamcast 2. And I love it. I love it so much for that reason. But some of the games carried over, like Sonic made a home on the GameCube, and I would say games like Resident Evil and stuff, which were also on here and on the PS1, they found a home on the GameCube, and they were exclusive for quite a long time until they made their way outside of that system onto like the PS4 and the Xbox One systems. So I love the PlayStation 2. It was also a DVD player. Probably a lot of people's first DVD players. The controller's perfect. I played so many hours of SmackDown vs. Raw, you name the year. So many games that I could fire off, but we would be here all day. So that is my ranking. Is it honest? I don't know. I could probably shift a couple things around here. don't necessarily believe that like these are like A, B, but like A and B are high scores. Come on, man. It's like they're not bad consoles by all means. It's just the staying power and the emotional impact and the influence chart is insane on these consoles. And these are new, but again, Game Boy. It's like probably the first system I've ever played. Pokemon, huge. Has my favorite Pokemon game of all time on this system. And again, I can gush about the Wii U even, or the Wii, or the N64. But we're not going to be talking about PC Master Race because I feel like that's just really unfair and people would throw it up in the GOAT category. But for what these systems are worth, especially to me, I love video games. And the longer I keep making content at WenzReviewz, or as long as I will be playing video games in my life, I can't help but just gush and think fondly about all of the systems that have come before the next big thing. So I'm really excited to rank the PS5 and rank the Xbox Series X as the years go on, and maybe when we get a Switch Pro, I can talk about the original Switch in a different fashion. But that has been it today. This is a very long video. It's about almost an hour long. Holy shit. Where we talked about some of my favorite video game consoles and a top tier consoles thanks to Tier List Maker. This, I don't even know if I'll be able to publish this to Instagram, but that is all for today. My name is Brandon. As always, thanks for watching. I'll have another conversation with Wen's video up sometime this week. But as always, thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all next time.